Welcome to this episode of the Trainer Feed. We are your hosts. My name is Angel Sanchez. With me, I have Mr. David Bravo.
Hey, what's up?
And then I have Mr. Jacques Delogere.
Yo, what's going on, everyone?
On today's episode, we are going to talk about weight loss strategies. And if you are wondering why David has the giggles, it's because this is our second time filming this one, which isn't bad. It's actually, we've been on a pretty good track with recording our episodes. We've been doing it all in one take, believe it or not, viewers and listeners. You would assume that we practice this over and over again, but it has been pretty much one take all the way through.
Bars.
Off the cuff, exactly. As Mr. Bravo so eloquently put it. You want to do air horns? Are we not ready for air horns? First of all, that needs to go down a little bit. We're not ready for it. Yeah, that means we're not ready for it. So on today's episode, we're going to cover weight loss and weight loss strategies that haven't really been proven as good all throughout. Are, good as subjective, so haven't been proven as their efficacy has not been the greatest. I think that's I guess greatest is also anecdotal. Right, there you go. Very well put, David. That's why David's going to law school.
People that don't know, I'm not going to law school. For people that, maybe one day, who knows?
Oh, we got to talk about that offline.
Anecdotal just means, for example,
You don't have to do all that.
I had a friend who did this, therefore it works.
Yo, you're lying. All right, we're going to pass around my mic, I think. I think that's better, right, Jack?
It's not, okay. It's not picking up. All right.
Yeah, so this is why this is number 2 and hopefully not number 3. So, David, let's unplug you right now. We'll pass the torch. We'll just, disconnect it so it's not like thudding around. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
All right. This is going to be a take 3 type situation day. All right, so let's cover some of the stuff that we were talking about. So, 2 things. One was sweat jackets. That was one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I think David will cover that one. And then the other one was topical rubs and or just fat burners. And that one Jacques can talk about a little bit more in depth. But before we get into that, I was also checking out, have you seen Adam Duthie's feed, Instagram feed?
Not recently.
He posted something, it was pretty funny. It was like his awards for best pre-workout supplement brand names. And he just went through like different bottles, and I thought it was pretty funny because I didn't realize that some of them just have super ridiculous names. But it was like, was it I Am God was one of them, and Crack was another one, and I Am Cursed or Cursed.
There's one called Woke AF.
Yeah, Woke AF, that was another one. And I was just thinking, it was like in my head, like, if you had with all that ridiculousness going on, I think one of the most ridiculous ones was I Am God. I thought that was pretty crazy, but it escalated to that. Terminal Shock was wild. That stuff was legit. It was crazy how. Yeah. Oh, can you hear? Oh, maybe people can't hear David.
I could hear me through.
Damn, so you're that loud?
Nah, David, let's hear you. Go on.
Oh no. Yeah, I think my mic is fucked then. I think we got a new mic. Anyway. Yeah, there's one called Terminal Shock that one of our former coworkers.
No, that's go ahead.
One of our former coworkers.
Just move your mouth away.
That one of our former coworkers
There you go.
gave us to try once, and that was legit crack. Like it was legit. I'm sure there was something in it that shouldn't have been, but
Dude, that stuff always make me... I didn't have any way of measuring I didn't measure my blood pressure after taking some, but I bet it would have been sitting at 140 consistently, because I could just feel my heart beating like crazy. It wore off pretty fast for me too when I started. I took it for a very short window of time. The first time I did it, I was so in the zone. It was kind of a good feeling, but yeah, not since then. But the names, I can't remember what the names were, but usually the more menacing the name usually is not more associated with the greater number of questionable elements in the product, usually.
Yeah, I think so. But maybe towards the end of this, we can talk about what our pre-workout supplement name would be. But before we dive down that rabbit hole, let's go to our original subject, which is the fat burners, which is what the ladies and gentlemen came to hear. So, David, we're going to start with you if you want to take a little sip. Before we start, we're going to get into sweat jackets. So, not only sweat jackets, not only sweat jackets, but things that people wear to cover themselves for, certain purposes. So, let's hear what David's got to say.
So everybody's seen that, right? I'm sorry. My bad. Everybody's seen, when people wear those vinyl sweatsuits, they look like you're wearing like garbage bags on you, and they go and they run around, they train in them. When I was in high school, I used to box for a little bit. Nothing major. I think I boxed for like a year. But there, I remember I've seen a couple people wear that, and I said, you know what? Let me buy one, see what all the fuss is about. And of course, now I know more now, but back then it was like that would make you sweat so much, and you're like leaving puddles behind you as you're walking. And of course, in the moment, you're like, great, I'm sweating a lot, therefore you're losing weight. And I think before anything, we should also define what losing weight and losing body fat means. Losing weight is body fat, water weight, muscle weight, all that stuff put together. So I think if somebody wants to lose body fat, if they measure their weight, is not the most accurate thing. That being said, with the vinyl suits, I think that predominantly just not burns, but it makes you sweat, so you're losing a lot of water weight for a short amount of time. And throughout the day, I believe you fluctuate between like 4 to 6 pounds a day, based on your bowel movements and everything. So, and then sweat. So, if you're somebody that wants to lose body fat in a safe way, I don't think those sweatsuits are the best thing. Now, if you're an athlete or a boxer, MMA, lifter, whatever, and you need to make weight, maybe getting that vinyl sweatsuit, jogging around for a little bit, having you lose water weight right before weighing could help. But that isn't something that's going to be sustainable, and that's not something that's going to help you lose body fat a lot. So I think when it comes to losing body fat, which I think is what the majority of people want, but they just, you just say, I want to lose weight just because of that just rolls off the tongue. But when you lose body fat, that's something more sustainable. That's something that you could see if you want to get lean or jacked, So I don't think those suits are the most accurate thing. And sometimes it could be dangerous because you could, really seriously hurt yourself if you're doing too much. I've seen people wear that in the fucking sauna and like steam rooms. It's crazy. So yeah.
I have never seen anyone in the steam room or sauna wearing it, but I'm also not in there that often, so I can't say. I think you made a very valid point of saying that it being a possibility of dropping water weight if you're trying to weigh in, and again, that's a very specific reason of wearing it. That you need to come in at a certain weight to fight, right, in a certain division, certain class. So, and then the idea is, well, after you weighed in, you can put weight back on for the fight, right? In theory, depending on what the sport is. So that makes sense, and that's a short-term thing. That's just before you weigh in. Whereas if you're someone that's trying to sustain a weight or body mass, you need to think of more long-term, more practical strategies, I think. And if your margin is that thin, then you maybe need to reassess what's going on. Maybe you need to reassess what your nutrient intake, what your food intake is, what your sleep routine is like. Because if it's that black and white for you to make that weight, I think there's something more prominent there anyway. But I think the theory is that it can't. I'm not someone that's used that sort of material for weight loss, but I don't think using it can hurt. I think if you're someone that does want to lose weight, I don't think it's gonna ruin your chances. But I don't think you can use that to say that's gonna make the difference in the sense that, all right, I'm gonna lose this much weight because I'm using it. It's like, well, no, as I just mentioned, what about the other variables in terms of what's your food intake like? How you sleeping? Are you actually working out that hard when you work out? Is it that the program is varying to some extent? You have to just think. You can't just think about the one variable of like I'm wearing the peaks or the what do you even call it? The like the waistbands. I think Yeah, waist trainer. So if you're doing all the right things and you add that, I think that doesn't hurt your chances. But all in all, I think you need to make sure that the whole picture is pretty much, in a smooth operation. That's what I would say.
I would actually, I agree with some of the stuff, but I also disagree. Because I do think that it can hurt you if you're training at a certain intensity. Like, you have to understand that that's another variable that most people don't really like account for, is how that's going to affect the body when you're training. So it's similar to like working out with a weighted vest or working out with something over your face like a mask or something like that. It's going to have an effect that you might not be able to bounce back from, right? Because you're going to keep working and it's almost like you're suffocating, and you don't give your the reason why we sweat in the first place is to cool the body down. Like, that's one of our mechanisms. That's why we can sweat. We're almost like a zombie in the wild, in the sense, because when we're running, we can just continue to keep running because we sweat. Whereas other animals have to stop and they have to pant because they don't have as many sweat glands as we do. So we're just like, we just keep going after it and after and after it, and we can wear down some of the animals in the, in the wild if we wanted to hunt. So if you block that mechanism, or if you put something over yourself in order to help you sweat and make you sweat even more, like, that's going to have, I think, a significant effect on how your body is going to be able to perform, because you're going to increase the likelihood that you're going to dehydrate, because you're obviously just promoting your sweat glands to continue to sweat in order to cool down, but you're not cooling down because they can't evaporate. The sweat can't evaporate off your skin, which begins the process of the cool down. So if it's like that's blocking it, it's almost like, I don't know. It's just not great. It's not a good situation, and it's going to turn a not so good situation pretty much worse. And to David's point, like, you do see elite athletes using that, but it's for a specific purpose, and that purpose is to just primarily just make weight. It's not like their whole training program revolves around that. It's like you're going to do it for a short amount of time, step on that scale, get that outcome, and then you're going to drink water, eat food, hydrate, all that stuff, and your body's going to balloon back. Which is pretty ridiculous too, because it's like, they make weight, literally step on that scale, and then after that, they can eat, do whatever they got to do, and they fight the next day. But they just have to have that scale say one thing right before, and then boom, you're qualified. But you can go up like 5-10 pounds after that, which is kind of crazy. Because then it puts, like, other people who have to work up to that weight at a huge disadvantage versus the person who's a little bit heavier and has to drop down. Like, obviously it's a lot more of a ways to go for the person who's heavier because they have to drop down to make that weight. But then when they do make that weight, they can just bounce back and just lay down haymakers. But for normal people who are trying to lose weight and make that their main strategy, I don't think it's a great idea. But let's talk about those fat burners and those rubs. Go ahead, Mr. Jack.
So, I again, based on my research, I did I did find the majority of the articles I looked on were on the NIH, National Institute of Health, and what they were saying was that the way these companies sell, say, fat burning pills, is the idea that they can help you, or what they do is they elevate heart rate, blood pressure, they possibly suppress appetite, that they also kickstart or increase your metabolism. And that being the case, but I think similarly to kind of what I just spoke on with David's topic, that those things are all well and good, but it's there's no magic bullet, right? I think we've spoken about that in previous episodes. There's no one thing to fix everything. So I think that, can it be effective if everything you're doing is on the right track? I think there's possible cause it will help you. But I think if your sleep is dog shit and you eat like I don't know, nobody's business, of no real routine or a lot of processed foods, I don't think that's going to help you. And I think ultimately, when I've seen people, or when I've heard or spoken to people about using that stuff, they've not seen results, but because the other variables haven't been there, haven't been to their best standards. So again, I think if you're a well-oiled machine and everything you're doing is running pretty efficiently, I think there's cause for it to help, but it's not by itself going to change your body composition overnight. And also, I think there's nothing that can swap out hard work and consistency. You know, I don't know if I told you guys about it, but recently I had an assessment. The person kept asking me, and by the third or fourth time, I said, "You're not gonna like this answer. Where it's the same. It depends, or it's consistency, or it really I can't tell you right now." And that's just kind of how it is. I think on most things in health and wellness to a certain extent. No, I'm not telling them to do more research. I'm just don't. No, what I'm saying is that it's so hard to explicitly say it's one thing or the other. Maybe it's a good thing that I'm able the mic right now, trying you guys out.
So what could help? So what could help? I have to do more research on that.
No, it's if no. What can help? Be consistent, having great habits, knowing you get a certain average amount of sleep. Go on, Angel.
You have to mention being more consistent with not being more consistent at taking fat burners and waist trainers and sweat jackets.
No.
Go ahead.
No, absolutely. No, that's a great point. Sorry, I should have clarified that when I say being consistent, not about taking fat burners, being consistent in all realms of movement, nutrition, and regeneration. So really have a consistent workout schedule. Aim for a consistent number of hours of sleep per night. And then with eating as well, you're trying to get between 3 and 4 meals a day, depending on what your goals are, depending on how much you weigh and that kind of thing. And get those 3 elements down consistently. David, you look like you're edging for a comment.
Yeah, it's not consistency in taking them, but I personally don't think they're very sustainable in a healthy lifestyle. Because are you going to be taking fat burners for the rest of your life every day just because you want to hit a certain number? Or do you want to find a good lifestyle and habit that could help you reach that regardless?
Come on, Ma, just one more rep.
I also, going to what you said, if you're trying to get to a weight, I mean, look, I'm not discouraging if you were trying to do it for a wedding or a special event, I get it. But I'm saying if someone wanted to, right, and it would take them through that month, whatever it was, again, I still think consistency wins a race, right? But if someone was, okay, but let's bet on this, though, that after your event is done, let's look at the more sustainable, the healthier long-term approaches.
Yeah, I got a wedding coming up. I got to, get them.
Whose wedding?
Good friend of mine.
Oh, yeah? Can you tell us a bit more about it?
It's, his name is...
Anyway, do you know this guy?
No.
I heard he's a real piece of what, though?
Heard he's mad sus.
Oh, for real? No, but wait, so is that something you would consider for this wedding?
No, not really, honestly. Because I think I have 2 months. Yeah, kind of 2 months, yeah.
2 months and like a week, I think, right?
Yeah, and I think 2 months.
No, exactly 2 months, my bad.
2 months is like, I think it's plenty of time to just make a significant change. Not drastic, but something in the right direction.
You also already have a somewhat consistent routine of working out. Yeah. That's one, right? What about, let's talk about, sleep. I'm not interviewing you right now, but if you were to...
Dog. Nah, he trying to press my man. We're not going through this. Trying to press my man, so we got to bring it back. Yeah, right, that's David. David's sweating bullets right now. And it ain't because it's 95 degrees outside. But yeah, so just to kind of wrap things up, definitely focusing on consistency, focusing on those sustainable habits that you can make in order to help you not only get the weight loss goal and hit the weight loss goal, but also to maintain it. Because this is what people don't understand, or most people don't understand, is, the reason why even, those belly fat remover surgeries don't really work is the fact that, and I forget the name, one's liposuction, but they got the other one, gastric bypass. They don't work necessarily all the time, is because you don't change the habits surrounding that, and then your body's going to fall back to those natural things that you always used to do. You're not a new person, you have a new body. And it could be even more dangerous. Exactly. So, and that's unfortunate, because not only will you end up wasting your money, but you'll end up wasting your time. You'll end up wasting emotions on it, psychological aspects to it. There are certain things that you just can't quantify when it becomes, so grandiose of an issue. And then you'll understand that then you'll have like ramifications that will keep going on for the rest of your life until you just reach that one moment, and then it becomes either too big of a problem to fix, or something that you just don't feel comfortable doing at all, and then you just avoid it. So all things considered, consistency, if weight loss is the goal, consistency is key. With exercise, with nutrition, and it doesn't have to be boring. There are always ways to go around it. If you're stumped, if you need some help with like meal prepping or planning, you should invest in a personal trainer or a registered dietitian to help you plan out those things that fits your lifestyle. Because again, it's difficult to just hear a general message and say, "Oh, that's me," because these general messages are made to make it feel like everybody fits in that bucket, and that's not the case. Because what works for David might not work for me, might not work for Jacques. Like we're different people, and we all have different goals and different living environments and different cultural backgrounds and things like that. So it's difficult to just say this is a one size fits all, because it really doesn't work that way when it comes down to it. That's one thing that's for sure. Right? You don't have somebody's dog and somebody else's dog and expect all dogs to behave the same way. Like, they just don't. Right? So why would you think that people are the same way? So there's that. And then the last thing to do is to just hang on.
I was going to say wrap it up, but I was doing this.
Hang 10. All right, guys. Or y'all, everyone listening to this podcast, thank you for listening. Remember to, if you shop at Rhone, please type in the trainer feed, all one word, to get, I think it's 20% off now. It is 20% off. So make sure to use the trainer feed, all one word, when shopping at Rhone. And you all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.